My story is I started as a voice actor, doing anime primarily with a show called Robotech. And that led me into writing, strangely enough. I know that's a weird jump, but you know, you have to make a living when you're raising kids. So thanks to my wife, actually, I got into writing and started writing anime, and that led me to Saban Entertainment because they were just getting into it. But I'd also spent some time working in local television and radio, so I learned how to writing ad copy for TV and radio commercials and that sort of thing. I was a story editor for several years and was part of the creative development team at Saban whenever a new show would come up. And like I said before, I don't know if it was because I was specifically asked for or because it was my turn. But when I went upstairs, my pop called upstairs behind and said, I'm going to do this show, and then he showed us the footage, and we thought he was nuts. And, and we went ahead and did it anyway, and out of that, I'd already been doing some producing for Saban, but kind of as a reward for coming up with the methodology of how to make the show, which is pretty much what my claim to fame is. They made me a producer, a full-on producer, and I haven't looked back. That's my story.
Do you think in the future or sometime later on that you guys would take the show into a movie independent, like away from the senpai?
Yes, that could be very interesting. The only thing that doesn't allow us is budget, basically, because of we have limited budget. If you do everything from scratch, it's going to cost us a lot more money. So that by using the footage and working in Japanese studio in a way that will save us some money, just because we don't have to have miniature sets and all stuff. And, it costs us a lot more money to do everything from scratch. So yes, if an opportunity like that, we'll be willing to do that because it's be fun. And I think it's right now a difficult thing is it's just like a situation.
There's a lot of stuff that's so much just their designs and there wouldn't be Power Rangers if it wasn't.
Yes, I'm sure.
I just want to say that. And, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but we'll see.
You have to have something interesting to work into.
You have great design all the way in your costume.
No, I mean, the stuff that Queecha mentioned earlier, Reflexia and Rainbow, I mean, the stuff is just the coolest, the best in the world. Having made a lot of props and everything, I totally understand the concept of something having to last. And, sometimes you make these things for even huge movies, and it's going to last like 4 or 5 days, and then it'll never be used again. But they build these things, and you see what happens to them on the show. And these things last for like an entire year. It's just amazing. Like you couldn't do it without it.
It's sort of a question for this end of the table, but especially in the last couple of years, whenever something's popped up that's been like a reference to the past of the show, like Rita popping up at the end of Mr. Force, sort of depending on who you ask, either the praise or the blame kind of falls on you guys. Is that is a lot of that like you two, or is there a lot of other people who are really enjoying the past of the show?
Well, I guess that we do have a lot of ideas, and also Bruce knows that when we work with Bruce, he knows that we're the one who knows the show really well. So that when an opportunity comes up, he always ask us opinion on what you think. Should we refer to some past? And of course, we say yes because you have to and Jackie made the book, so and she puts down the script, and I shoot it.
It's always a call. Like you have to make the call. Is this a good reference or is it not? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you don't want to rely completely on the nostalgia factor of Power Rangers going to keep it fresh, but you also want to honor all the past seasons and the legacy of Power Rangers. So I think it's we should use some. It's a judgment call.
Do you guys like it when we refer to something in the past?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Usually, yes.
It depends. Yeah.
Like 9.5 times more.
Okay.
Rita had something wrong, but that's our mostly from mine.
Your turn for logical.
Because also that was sorry that the person who played Rita in Japan, she passed away just soon after they finished the Imagination. So it was also respect.
Yes, I thought that was a fantastic opportunity to show her. And
We definitely
especially- yeah,
it's-
Still have that decisions. Chris?
This is for
Yes, because Life Rescue Japanese season Global 5, they only have 5 images. But usually in people in the US, they expect to have 6 images. Also, 6 images is big toy stuff, Bandai too. so that when the Bandai know that Japan they only do 5 images, they really want to do original images the first time.
Yeah.
So we say
We have a little bit more flexibility to create original stuff back then, so why not?
And so again, the design was done
Oh,
by
the design.
and but our work with the department was other company creating those costumes and all that stuff. And I think Jackie will most of the speak on that. So let's get half the yeah, check the Jackie will have all the script on that space.
Any thoughts about giving the opportunity to work with new blanks, slate not
Well, it's always a need. It's always nice to be able to have that a little bit more of a blank slate to write. Like I was alluding to before, the challenge in writing Rangers is taking the Purple Sentai and putting it into our story. And sometimes you have to think, okay, yellow is not in the footage, so I have to think of a story reason why they're not in the footage. Using an original character, you can just take it and brainstorm, and it can be whatever you want it to be. So it's nice to have that flexibility.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions.
Jackie, I know you're going to answer this question as much.
Is it about Rita?
No.
It's about Magic Mother.
It's about working for Disney. With all this, like the script changes and the things that they look at and say, well, this character can't do this name, and we have to change this and that. And kudos to all of you for working under that type of inane tension. But how do you do it? I know part of it is the love for the show, like you said, so you make it work. But your brain has to be. I mean, you have to do all this. You have to do all this stuff. Only write from what edited footage that you have, and try to write a story that's similar to, or try to write a story that's similar to the Sentai story. But I'm just amazed, because then it comes down to something like, well, he's got the wrong name. Okay, so now you go back and change it. So how do you keep things fresh? How do you keep it energized?
Part of it is because it is it's a new start every season. It keeps it fresh naturally, because we do have a new cast and a new theme, new design, new characters to write for. I think that keeps it fresh for me.